So we'll be going live soon.
Fine.
Okay. Good evening, sir. We have here with us Mr. We have here with us Mr. Naveen Gulia, an ex-army man and a present karmic yogi. Welcome to the live question answer session, sir.
Thank you so much.
So, beginning the line of questioning, the first question we have for you, sir. You started your career as a soldier, as a man of war. What inspired you? What motivated you to become a man of peace, a karmic yogi?
See, the thing is, Lord Krishna has said the soldier is the biggest yogi because he knows he will not get the recognition he deserves. And he might not, he gives up his everything for very little in return. Now, the thing is, I am still a soldier. I am a soldier for life. There's a bigger enemy in the society that we have to fight. Changing ourselves is a much bigger deal than trying to change others. I was a soldier because I wanted to, in the army, because I wanted to protect my country, people who could not protect themselves because of lack of training and equipment, whatever. So I was doing that job. Now I'm trying to protect the rights of those children who do not have a voice, children who are exploited for begging, children who are exploited for labor. I'm trying to, or children who are biased against, like the girl child. Now, in that, I am a man of peace. I was a man of peace back then as well. I do not want to kill anybody. I do not want to fight anybody. But if a weak person, because of his gender, weak because of his social position, weak because of his financial position, is deprived of his rights, if his life is endangered, there should be no doubt that I'll take swords in both my hands and fight. So peace does not mean that you're not willing to fight when it is required.
So, from what I get from your answer is, sir, earlier you have been fighting external enemies and now you're fighting internal enemies, if I may say so. You're fighting for
Much
us
bigger
now.
enemies.
Much
Much
bigger.
bigger enemies.
Okay, sir. Coming on to the second question. What do you think, sir, that civilians should learn from the military life? Is there any learning there for civilians?
The biggest learning is discipline. If you are not a disciplined society, you cannot achieve anything. If you are not a disciplined individual, you cannot achieve anything. Whatever you do not follow as a discipline is, it becomes a trouble for you. It becomes a burden for you. I get up in the morning, first thing I do is take a cold water bath. I don't have to think whether to take or whether not to take. When it is breakfast time, I eat whatever is available. I don't think what I want to have. Suitable for my job. If people have to like me, they have to like me that way. I'll not go for special brands or designer clothes or something to make myself more appealing to people. So that discipline makes life very simple. I don't have to think twice. Now, the youngsters of today are a false idea is they are all saying in unison, we want freedom, I want freedom, I want my space. If this is freedom, if what you are trying to enjoy is freedom, then what freedom was Gandhi fighting for? What freedom was Bhagat Singh fighting for? They did not have multiple girlfriends. They were not partying at different places. They were not indulging in exquisite cuisines and all, having the best of foods in the world or something. Then what was the freedom they were fighting for? If this is freedom, this is not freedom. This is waywardness. Avara galti. This is not freedom. Freedom is the right to have a choice what you wish to commit to. You have a choice. Subhash Chandra Bose committed to a particular way of life. Bhagat Singh committed to a particular way of life. Gandhi committed to a particular way of life. They had a choice. That is freedom, to have that choice. Not to commit is not freedom. That is not freedom. So it is, if when you realize that, then you will value your life more. Then you will be able to enjoy the small freedoms that you get in your life much more. You are not even able to enjoy the freedoms you already have because there's too much of it.
Thank you, sir, for that wonderful answer. I agree. Youngsters today have lost track of what freedom is. They build on the gains of their predecessors, and that's why I think they no longer have track. Coming to the next question, sir. Sir, intolerance, anger, jealousy, greed, and deceit have been rising across the country. What do you have to say about this?
See, the thing is intolerance towards what? Anger towards what? Greed towards what? And jealousy towards what? If intolerance is towards stupidity, then you better have that. If intolerance is towards injustice, then you better have that. If there is intolerance against oppression, you better have that. If it is anger against injustice, you better have that. Peace is not the driving force of this world. Anger is the driving force of this world. Peace you get when you die. People say rest in peace. So peace you will eventually get. Don't worry about it. Right now is the time for anger so that you can bring out change. If you do not feel angry about a situation, if you don't feel angry at yourself when you commit mistakes, if you don't feel angry at the bad habits you have acquired, you will not be able to give them up. Anger is the driving force, provided it is used at the right place. Gandhi, APJ Kalam, they were very angry people, but their anger was directed towards their own shortcomings, not towards others. That's why they were able to become great people. Jealousy is the driving force behind the economy of this world. You want to look better than others. You want to have a better car than others. You want to have better clothes than others. You want to have a better house than others. You want to produce more crops than others. You want to produce more uh, products than other countries. You want to have a better society than other societies. Jealousy is something which makes the world economy run, provided it is competitive jealousy and not a jealousy in which you try to harm the other person so as to become better than him. Then it becomes negative. So all these are energies, and energy is required. But we have to learn how to use the energy at the right place, in the right manner. That is important.
Thank you, sir. I believe our audience would agree. That was a wonderful answer to my question. I
Thank
think
you.
everyone would agree. N- Now, sir, seeing as that we are at the end of our question answers time, I would like to formally thank you on behalf of TEDx and the IIM Rohtak TEDx team for joining us today for this event.
Thank you so much, and I thank you for considering me worthy of inviting me on this platform.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, so we are starting. Good evening. Today, joining us for this live Q&A session is Dr. Mahul Brahma, an alumnus of IIM Kolkata. He is an authority in the luxury world. Starting the Q&A session with the first question. So, luxury as a concept is a very controversial concept as it is deemed to be beyond the reach of the common people. Luxury has forever been associated with aristocracy, nobility. What is your perception on that?
It's a very interesting question. So, this is what my fight through my books or through platforms like this IIM Rohtak TEDx. I'm trying to break. Historically, the luxury brands have projected luxury in such a way that luxury is only meant for a few haves who are, worthy. The term worthy is used over and over again, but basically, what it drives is ego. So, ego is driven by exclusivity. Ego is driven by price tags, and that is how over centuries we have been defining luxury. And by we, I mean this is something that is a structured uh, propaganda that is done by the luxury brands so that they can create an aspiration of their own products. However, luxury is a concept. Luxury is not only a product. Luxury is not only this pen. Luxury is also history. Luxury is also a beautiful subject that you study, the craftsmanship that you study, the intricacies that you study, the brand history, the evolution that you study, how a brand has survived the test of time. So luxury is not only defined by money. Luxury is not only defined by exclusivity that money creates or ego that money drives. It is this notion that has become, more or less a conventional notion that I am trying to break, with my books, with my writings, and with platforms like these, with my talks. So luxury is for everyone. Luxury and its intrinsic value, which is the mythic value that keeps luxury alive in our minds, in our hearts, that is for everyone, and that is inclusive. That is not exclusive, that is not driven by ego. What is driven by ego uh, is the brand, is the brand building process of these luxury brands, which is directly leading to a market creation. Aspiration is an economic term. Aspiration means creating a market. So with these advertisements, with these kind of promotions, uh, notionally it has been deployed to make luxury equivalent to, xx $1 billion or xx $1 million or xx crores of money. Luxury is not that. While the luxury product represents luxury, but the product doesn't represent luxury holistically. So my quest was to kind of find the true meaning of luxury beyond this myopic view of price tags. So that is why I'm saying that luxury is inclusive, it's for everybody. The idea is to break that conventional notion.
Thank you, sir, for that wonderful reply. I agree. Luxury should be available to everyone.
It is
Sir,
available
coming
to
on,
everyone.
coming on to our second question. How does minimalism stand up to luxury?
Right. See, again, if you understand that uh, minimalism or luxury, they are concepts. Okay, every concept has its own beauty. If you stop defining luxury with the goods and the products or the services that you get with money exclusively, then you'll understand luxury and minimalism are not contradictory. What is contradictory is that the conventional notion of luxury is that, as I said in my talk as well, that I have 12 bells or 13 bags or so many writing instruments. That is how conventionally we define luxury as opulence. Okay. So you have more than what you need. But what I need is one pen, one belt, and one bag. Okay. So the clash, the apparent contradiction between luxury and minimalistic living is when you define luxury in the myopic, product driven, ego driven way, and minimalist in a way that there is so many, there is opulence, and there is just, the simple needs of life being met in a very simple way. So conventional luxury, the way it is defined, and minimalism, it is in contradiction. They are different. But if you look at luxury, the way I've just told you, as a concept, as something you need to study, you need to research on, and also, you don't, for example, you don't own a Taj Mahal, okay, but who's stopping you from loving it? You don't own the full moon, but you love it. You know, when we go out and look at the mighty Himalayas, we don't own it, but we love it. What it gives is love, a dazzle, and that dazzle is, the word lux, which means luxury. And you can be dazzled, and you can still have a minimalist life. So the way I define luxury, the way I look at luxury, there is no contradiction between a minimalist life and a dazzled life.
So thank you. Our final
Thank
question
you.
to you, sir. So
Sure.
where do you think the line between luxury and normal lies?
uh, See, luxury is normal life. Okay. So the thin line between you know the conventional luxury and normal life is defined by the way uh, you conventionally define it as, with money, with opulence, with the haves. I can afford it, you can't. So I can live a luxury life, you can't. So there is a thin line that is defined between me and you, a life of luxury and a life of not luxury. Now, here in this category, you create the life of aspiration where I aspire to have a luxurious life. But the point is that there is no difference. This is the way the brands like you to think, because please understand, it's a business. And they would want you to think that it is only money that can buy you luxury. It is only money which will enable you to enter this world of luxury. Otherwise, you're not allowed. That's not the case. Yes, with money you can buy that product, of course. But the history of the brand, the way the brand has grown, understanding the beauty of it, you don't need to own that brand. Nobody owns that brand. You just own a product of the brand, even if you can afford conventional luxury. So there is no thin line. It is one life. In that one life, you have the right to enjoy the Mount Everest, which is the biggest luxury that I have ever seen. I don't think I've seen such a dazzle ever in my life. Much more than any products of billions and millions of dollars, and that's luxury to me. And then I live a simple life. I don't have a car. I use a taxi. So I can have a simple life. I can write with an expensive pen, but that expensive pen, when it stops being my identity, I have been able to differentiate between a luxury product and luxury, the true meaning of it. So even if I drive an expensive car, I will not let that expensive car define my identity. So the moment that happens, you can have everything.
Thank you, sir. I
Thank you
believe
so
you
much.
drew the line clearly. I believe you drew the line clearly
So
for us.
thank you so much.
With this, we come to the end of this Q&A session. We thank
Right.
you on behalf of the TEDx team. I am Rohtak. Thank you,
And
sir.
I'm also thankful to you for having me here. Thanks to the audience. Thanks to IIM Rohtak TEDx team. Thank you.
Ideas Man of India, for a live Q&A session. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you so much, Eklavya.
So our first question to you would be, sir, you have earned the moniker the Ideas Man of India. Now, every person in this country has an idea. What is that X factor that makes you different from everyone else?
Uh, I'll say there are three things that we need to keep in mind behind every idea. It's not about having a very great idea, but it's about making those ideas happen. Okay, so we all have a lot of ideas, but unless and until we make that happen and we do that thing in ground, it is of no use. So three things we need to keep in mind when we have the mind, when we have an idea. The first thing is determination. We need to be very determined that if we have an idea, we'll make sure that we'll do it. आज नहीं तो कल, we'll make sure that it will happen. So first thing idea के पीछे ये होना चाहिए कि determination, कि I'll make sure कि ये idea मैं इसको करूँगा, कुछ भी हो जाए, against all odds I'll go and make this happen. दूसरा thing चीज है journey. So when you have an idea, basically ideas तब आते हैं जब कुछ एक problem के एक specific solutions नहीं होते. So you need to be very innovative while designing a different idea or anything like that. So you need to be very dynamic and innovative at the same time. So दूसरा point ये है कि you need to be very dynamic and innovative. And third thing is when you start with an idea, there should be a very good cause behind that. Unless and until there is a cause, the idea won't sustain for a long time. और वही आपको lifetime तक motivation देता है. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Sir, now we have a question about your social activities. You have been empowering people throughout. Is it possible to scale up your ideas, your organization, to service more people in a country of 1.3 billion people? How do you plan to go about it?
Yes. So yeah, this is a really interesting question, and I must say who asked this question a very like it is a really a good question. So first thing is when people told me when I started this initiative a long back when I was in the third year of engineering, I started this initiative. And people told me, "यार अनिल ये क्या कर रहा है? Nothing gonna happen. आप ऐसे करोगे तो कैसे होगा?" And you are going to a village and you are starting a school और आप यहाँ से ऐसे बच्चों को उठाएंगे और उनको आप आगे लेके जाएंगे. So Anil, that is not possible. At that time only I told कि there would be a time where my students will be going out और NASA के लिए जाएंगे. And that happened this year in 2020 after 5 years. After 5 years of dedication that happened. So कोई भी चीज एक दिन में नहीं होता है. And second thing is about scale up. Yes, we are now scaling it up. So now the prototype is ready. Now we are coming up with products like अभी एक ही स्कूल से हम लोगों ने स्टार्ट किया था. Now we are scaling up across Odisha और ऐसे remote locations में हम लोग अलग other schools को भी बनाना शुरू कर रहे हैं. At the same time we are also making maker spaces जहाँ पे कि rural youths को हम लोग empower कर पाए. Maker spaces ऐसे spaces हैं जहाँ पे they can come, they can make something, they can do something. वो कुछ एक प्रोटोटाइप बना सकते हैं, कुछ प्रोडक्ट बना सकते हैं और अपने गांव के लिए ये यूथ लोग कुछ कर सकते हैं. तो यस, वी आर नाउ स्केलिंग इट अप और चीजें आगे बढ़ रही हैं.
Thank you, sir. Sir, the next question. Sir, you have been able to send children to NASA. So, what proprietary method, what technique do you use to educate people? What makes your social program different?
So first thing is this is for the first time any under 19 team is going for NASA rover challenge. So this is for the first time anything is happening like that. और उसमें भी the team that we have selected is from very remote location. जैसे कि आपने देखा कि एक लड़की है जो रोड साइड में वेल्डिंग कर रही थी. She never thought of कि she will go to NASA. She even didn't knew what was NASA. ठीक है. बट उसको था कि आई हैव टू डू समथिंग इन लाइफ, उसके अंदर वो स्पार्क था, वो क्यूरियोसिटी था. वेल्डिंग इज काइंड ऑफ ए मेन लाइक जॉब एंड शी इज अ गर्ल एंड शी वाज डूइंग दैट. वो अपना पेट भरने के लिए उस चीज को कर रही थी, और वो जो जुनून था उसके अंदर, वो उसने मेरे को बहुत अट्रैक्ट किया. तो ऐसी बहुत सारी चीजें हैं इस टीम में. ये एक ऐसा छोटा सा टीम नहीं है. इस टीम में लॉट ऑफ इंस्पिरेशन, देयर आर लॉट ऑफ इंस्पिरेशंस इन दिस वन टीम. ऐसे रिमोट लोकेशंस में से कि एक और मैंने बच्चे के बारे में जैसे आज बताया कि वहाँ पे एक और लड़का था जो रोड साइड में साइकिल रिपेयरिंग के शॉप में था. तो ऐसे बच्चों को हम लोग नासा भेज रहे हैं. So this team is an inspiration to a lot of other students, other school going students and college students as well, कि जो कुछ करना चाहते हैं लाइफ में. If they can do, why can't you? Yes, Eklavya, any other questions?
Sir, if I may, sir, how do you reach these people?
Okay. So during lockdown, when everything was in a standstill mode, we thought of doing something different. So we started with like I belong to a village, and we have a lot of students, we have a lot of volunteers working with us, a lot of IIM graduates as well, like you all guys and all. So they work with us. They work with us in terms of internship or maybe volunteer and all that stuff. So they make sure that we reach each and every student in India, may it be a rural, in a very remote location, may it in an urban location or anything. So they help us get those students. If we go for applications that like, yes, this is a new initiative. If anyone wants to join us, they can join us. And then we have set of volunteers and uh, young graduates like you who make sure that we reach them. Yes, we reached 800 students for this NASA Rover Challenge. Out of those, we selected 10 core students and who are representing India at the NASA Rover Challenge. Yeah.
So my final question to you would be, so what makes you decide to give up lucrative corporate jobs and engage in some social activities?
Okay. So from the first year of engineering, when I was in engineering, so I was like, I'll become an entrepreneur. I belong to a very like a middle class family, lower middle class family. Okay, so uh, if you get a job in a corporate, like in a very good corporate, okay, in a, like a core job in a corporate, then people think like you are placed and अब life set है. So our parents are like कि अच्छा corporate मिल गया तो life set है, and you'll go and do your job. But यार motivation वहाँ पे बिल्कुल नहीं मिलता है, because during these 4 years I went to a lot of corporates में, वहाँ पे जाके दिखता था वहाँ पे लोग कैसे काम करते हैं, what is the motivation, उनसे बात करता था, आपका life motivation क्या है, is it the money, क्या चीज़ है, what motivates you more. तो ये सब चीजें देखने के बाद मेरे को एक चीज पता चल गया कि यार ये ज्यादा दिन नहीं चलने वाला है. I can't do this job for like next 50 to 60 years of my life. सो मैंने बोला कि यार ये चीज तो होने से रहा, और ये चीज मेरे को मोटिवेट नहीं करता है. सो आई वांट टू डू समथिंग बाय माय ओन, जिसमें मैं जीवन भर मोटिवेटेड रहूं और रोज कुछ ना कुछ नया करूं, बच्चों के साथ करूं. सो ये थॉट प्रोसेस मेरा बहुत पहले आ गया था, जब मैं थर्ड ईयर के अराउंड था, ये थॉट प्रोसेस मेरे पास आ गया था. सो आई थॉट ऑफ केयर वी हैव टू डू, आई हैव टू डू समथिंग डिफरेंट. आई डोंट हैव टू गो फॉर दिस कॉर्पोरेट जॉब्स, और कॉर्पोरेट जॉब से मेरा कुछ नहीं होने वाला, मेरा दिमाग खराब होगा. मे बी आई कैन गेट अ लॉट ऑफ मनी, बट एट द सेम टाइम नो सेटिस्फैक्शन. सो लाइफ को जीना और सस्टेन करने में बहुत डिफरेंस होता है. 9 to 6 में मैं सस्टेन कर रहा होता, मैं लाइफ को जी नहीं रहा होता. अब मैं लाइफ को जीता हूँ, मैं रोज जीता हूँ. ठीक है. नाउ ऑल्सो आई हैव लॉट ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स. तो मेरे जो स्टूडेंट्स हैं वो सिर्फ और सिर्फ एक इंस्टीट्यूट से नहीं है, दूसरे दूसरे इंस्टीट्यूट से हैं. कोई किसी गांव में बैठा हुआ है, वो मेरा एक स्टूडेंट हो सकता है. इवन मैं कहीं पे भी जाता हूँ, देखता है अनिल सर आप यहाँ पे आए हैं, कैसे हैं. सो आई इवन डोंट नो कि ये स्टूडेंट्स कहाँ से हैं. कोई मेरे डिजिटल क्लासरूम्स में बैठा रहता है किसी लोकेशन में. So that really makes me feel कि यार this is the kind of change we are bringing in society. और वो चीज मैं किसी एक जॉब से बिल्कुल ही नहीं मिलता मेरे को. And the happiness that I get is unbelievable. क्योंकि यहाँ पे आपको रोज एक नए बच्चे से मिलने का मौका मिलता है, आप भी उनके साथ एक यंग बच्चे हो जाते हैं. मतलब माई एज इज 24, आई फील लाइक मेरा कभी 14-15 ईयर्स का हूँ मैं, क्योंकि मैं उन बच्चों के साथ बात करता हूँ, उनके साथ रहता हूँ. सो आई विल बी यंग थ्रू आउट माई लाइफ. कल मेरे को 50 ईयर्स या 60 ईयर्स हो जाएगा तो मैं यंग रहूंगा, बिकॉज आई विल बी टॉकिंग विद दिस स्टूडेंट्स. और ये मेरे को इतना मोटिवेट करते हैं, इतना एनर्जेटिक रखते हैं. सो यार ये चीज है कि जॉब छोड़ने के लिए ज्यादा मेरे को टेंशन नहीं लेना पड़ा. बट यस, सिंस आई बिलोंग फ्रॉम अ मिडिल क्लास फैमिली, यहाँ पे पेरेंट्स का थोड़ा सा कंस्टेंट रहता है कि यस आपको लाइफ अपना सस्टेनेबल करना है, आपको अच्छा जॉब लेना है, आपको अच्छा पे करना है. बट यस, व्हेन यू आर इनटू एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप यू हैव टू टेक अ रिस्क, एंड दिस इज वन ऑफ द पार्ट. And as I say, जिद करो तो दुनिया बदलो. तो जिद करना पड़ेगा और दुनिया को बदलना पड़ेगा.
Thank you, sir. That was my last question.
Thank you.
So I would like to thank you for I would like to thank you on behalf of the IIM Rohtak TEDx team for joining us. We hope you continue to serve people and your initiative grows much and much bigger. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, team. Thank you so much, IIM TEDx team. Thank you so much for having me. Bye bye.
We have with
Yes,
here today,
good
Mr.
evening. Yeah.
We have with here today Mr. Shrey Saxena. He is a second generation social entrepreneur at Grow Diesel. Now, starting the Q&A session, our first question would be, Sir, what drove you to become a social entrepreneur?
Right. So, first of all, I think the credit goes to my family and especially my grandfather. And as I mentioned in my talk, he was deeply connected with nature and he always promoted a lot of green initiatives within the family. So, and followed by my father, who actually is a social entrepreneur himself. So I think it has been in the genes of the family, and my family played a very crucial role for me to decide and enter into their shoes.
Thank you, sir. That's a wonderful story. I hope everyone takes inspiration and follows in your footsteps. So my next question
Right.
would be, so how did you come up with Grow Diesel? What is the
So,
concept? What is the idea?
okay, so basically, like I mentioned, Grow Diesel was started by my father way back in year 2001. And before that, he was in London, who was attending a conference, and where he stumbled upon this term biofuel and renewable energy. And he was really inspired because he thought that this was the future. Fossil fuels are about to end, and we need an alternative. And we need an alternative which is actually something which is non-polluting as well. So he came back to India from London, and he started working in this direction. And I happened to join him almost 6 years back when I was starting with my college. As I joined him immediately after my school, and my focus has always been that how we can connect Grow Diesel with the youth and how we can inspire the youth to take some actions. So I would say that my part in Grow Diesel has been more towards improving the front end and the youth connect. So I think it's been 6 years now, and we are on the right track.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have a very technical question for you from one of the participants. What would you say is the best way to treat organic waste? Is it energy composting or is it biogas plants?
All right. So it's a very interesting question. I'm pretty sure the person who has asked this question has some idea about this particular field. So personally, I would say that if done correctly, bio CNG plants or the person who is called that biogas, I would say that biogas plants can actually be a great value addition, not just from a point of view of environment, but they can actually the biogas plants can actually bring a huge economic impact. So for that matter, I'll just give you an example. The Ministry of Petroleum and Gas, they recently announced, not recently, it's been 2 years now, in National Biofuel Policy 2018, that how the ministry wants to establish around more than 5,000 bio CNG plants. So you can see the kind of impact, the emphasis the government is putting. Because the answer is simple, that if we are able to replace our gas consumption with CNG, it will help us to reduce our crude oil and crude gas imports. So definitely, if we are talking about a financial point of view, biogas plants will actually make a big difference. When we talk about compost or biofertilizer for that matter, uh, in biogas plants, the biofertilizer is actually a byproduct. Okay, so I think if we are focusing on the biogas plants or bio CNG plants, we can easily get the fertilizer as well. So I really see no point in just going for the composting plants directly. But yes, if you ask me on a personal level, that if someone wants to do something on a personal level, like my mother, so she does composting at her home. So I think on a personal level, composting makes sense. But on a larger level, let's say on a society level, biogas plants will actually make a big difference.
Thank you, sir. I believed you answered that question wonderfully. So, my next question would be, sir, since composting require biological products, how capital intensive are these techniques?
All right. So I'll be talking about the bio-CNG plants. So biogas has existed in our country for more than 100 years now, I think. And the thing is that biogas plant is not new as a concept. However, when we talk about doing it in a more professional manner and something that makes financial sense, then it is a very technical process. So our team took 8 years of research to come up with a reactor-based technology which could do the process in a much more efficient manner. But if you talk about a traditional biogas plant, it's very simple. You can dig a hole. Okay, you start putting cow dung or waste inside it, and you put a balloon above that. The gas will start coming out. You must have also heard that all the landfills that are around, especially in Delhi, when we go towards Chandigarh, there's this landfill, and in that landfill, the fire is continuously on. So that fire comes out because of that biogas which is being automatically generated there. And there we are not doing anything formally, but still the gas is coming out, it is catching fire, and that mountain is always having some kind of fire there. So the thing is that if you ask me from a technological point of view, yes, we have refined it. We have included a lot of additions to that old technology. We have included Internet of Things. We have included artificial intelligence. We have included central monitoring. So it's a combination of a lot of technologies. It's a combination of IT, and it's a combination of converting the waste into biogas or fertilizer. So I think that integration is what makes this technology very beautiful and very acceptable. Talking about the funds, now I think there's a misconception that it requires a lot of funds. I see it as a perspective. Okay, currently every municipality, every good municipality like MCD or Bombay Municipal Corporation, their cost to eliminate that waste is 2,500 rupees per ton. Okay, and if we just talk about the total waste generation in Delhi, it's more than 10,000 tons. So you just multiply 2,500 rupees into 10,000. That is what they're spending every single day just to eliminate that waste. Now, how I see it, that if we are establishing a biofuel plant, it has a good ROI from which varies from 25% to 80% or even 100% if done correctly. So let's say even taking a very modest number of 25%. So if we are investing 100 rupees in a biogas plant today, in 4 years our investment will be recovered. And even if that is not enough, then we have a lot of bonds. For that matter, Climate Bonds is an organization based out of United Kingdom, which has a fund of more than 1.5 trillion dollars, and which is specifically dedicated to green energy projects. So you can see that fund is the last thing that people who are trying to enter this field they should be worried about. Even at Grow Diesel, when we are started to promote green entrepreneurship in our organization, and we undertake that if someone is qualified enough and if that person matches our eligibility criteria, we also provide funding in the projects up to 70%. So, see, funding, to be very frank, the policies from the past few years have been so friendly for our organization that it is a really good time to be a part of this industry.
Thank you, sir. So, my one last quick question to you would be, sir, do you think biofuels can substitute established conventional sources of energy like LPG on the scale
100%,
and
100%, 100%. So, if you have been noticing this field, or people who have been noticing this field since past few years, especially after National Biofuel Policy 2018, uh, you would see that now government has started to understand that how important biofuels are, not just for the environment, of course. I mean, for a lot of people, that biofuels, the benefit of the environment is a byproduct, and the economic impact is the primary what do we say, what they are most concerned about. So the thing is that government has now started to understand that this biofuel sector can actually help the country to reduce our imports from oil producing countries. Our current oil import, our crude oil or crude gas import, is somewhere around $200 billion annually. Now, imagine if we are able to reduce that even by half just because of biofuels. Imagine the kind of money that we'll be saving, which is either way going to the other countries. So I feel that government has started to understand the importance of biofuels. I mean, it was a long road, and we started way back in year 2001, but favorable policies have just started to come in. One interesting fact I'll share is that recently RBI has also included this biofuel sector in the priority sector lending, which means that if you are someone who wants to establish a biofuel plant, the government has a mandate that if they are giving a loan of 100 rupees, out of that 40 rupees or 20, depends on the percentage from bank to bank, it is dedicated for this sector. So you can imagine that so many policies which are playing around because they understand that biofuels can actually replace fossil fuels, which is extremely good.
Thank you, sir. I believe that was a very detailed and good answer. Sir, that was my last question to you. I would like to thank you for joining us on the behalf of IIM Rohtak TEDx team. We can see that you are changing the world and you have our best wishes to continue doing so. Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much, Eklavya. I really thank the entire organizing committee, and especially IIM Rohtak, for finding me worthy enough to give me this platform. Thank you, guys. Have a great evening ahead.
Good evening. Today we have with us Mr. Shashank Arora, an actor, a director, a vocalist, a lyricist, and a screenwriter. He is known for his role in Titli, Brahmanaman, Muthan, and Made in Heaven. Good evening, sir. We welcome you.
Hi, Clover. I'm sorry for interrupting. I'm not a director. I don't know why you said that in the introduction. I've never directed anything, but thank you so much for the invite. Thank you for having me, all the students of IIM Rohtak.
Okay, sir. Starting the Q&A session. So our first question to us, you would be, sir, you are essentially a storyteller. You weave and create stories. What do you think makes a story effective? What do you think makes a story good?
What makes a story good is something we can relate to. So if the story is honest to itself, is an honest world within itself, we relate to it, irrespective of whatever the story is. If it's about love or war, or if it's a documentary, or it doesn't matter. As long as the story is portrayed in a fashion that's believable to us, we choose to make it a good story in our head.
Thank you, sir. I believe that was an insightful response. So, what stories would you say play to the gallery with the Indian masses? Indian masses are known to be unique in their approach to movies, approach to their cultures. So, what would you say? What types of stories, what type of movies cater to the Indian masses?
The Indian masses are open to every type of cinema, be it documentary, be it commercial cinema, is what we call it today. Indian masses, a majority of us, वक्त बहुत मुश्किल है सबके लिए यार। लोगों के पास खाने के लिए नहीं है, पीने के लिए नहीं है, तो सिनेमा एक प्रायोरिटी नहीं है। तो इंसान अगर फ़िल्म देखता है, तो वो एस्केप करने के लिए देखता है, वो हँसने के लिए देखता है, वो एक इनिशियल एंटरटेनमेंट के लिए देखता है। That's a majority of us. But everyone, and I'm very surprised all the time. You know, if you show a French documentary to a person sitting in Delhi, or a rickshaw wala from UP, or a carpenter from Madhya Pradesh, or a farmer from Jharkhand, सब सिनेमा समझते भी हैं अच्छा, पर उनका अभी मन नहीं है कुछ शायद क्लोज टू लाइफ देखने का, सबका मन है एस्केप करने का. But it's not that Indian masses aren't open to it. Indian masses are some of the most intelligent people around the world. Uh, we have some of the brightest minds. It's just the sort of cinema we've learned to watch is the sort of cinema that is being shown to us. और अगर ये सिनेमा अपने रूप में बदल जाए तो हम दूसरे रूप को भी एक्सेप्ट कर लेते हैं. सो फॉर मी इंडियन मासेस आर वेरी ओपन टू ऑल काइंड्स ऑफ सिनेमा, be it independent cinema, commercial cinema, you name it.
Thank you, sir. I believe that was an insightful response. So, my next question to you would be, sir, do you think storytellers have to take moral responsibility for their stories? Because more often than not, stories do go out and tell people what is right and what is wrong. Are the storytellers morally responsible for it?
Um, it's a very good question. There's a fine line. When a storyteller talks about something political, talks about an issue like rape, talks about an issue like starvation, uh, their only moral responsibility is not to incite people towards violence. As long as the storyteller does not incite people to be violent, he can show the violence, he can portray violent scenes, he can portray uh, something that is an act of rape on screen, which would turn off the viewer. So storytellers do have a moral responsibility, but that moral responsibility is narrowed down to an area which we call inciting people to to be violent. And as long as the story doesn't do that, I believe freedom of speech and storytelling is perhaps one of the most important aspects of a free country.
Thank you, sir. I believe that was a very dynamic answer that pertains to our present reality. So, what would you say the line between escaping reality and deception is?
The line between escaping reality and deception is your portrayal of that deception or that reality. As long as your portrayal, even if it's a fantasy, is coherent within itself, it has a certain logic to it. Be it an emotional logic, be it a structural logic which applies to stories. Uh, you are on the fine line between deception and reality. When it's deception is when a storyteller has no idea what he's talking about. When a storyteller talks about a subject he has no idea of, that is deception. And we often see it in Indian cinema. We often see it in world cinema. Um, that's a line. That's the difference. I like your questions, Eklavya. Right to the point.
So, I'm only feeding you what the audience is feeding me.
No, that's very nice. It's very nice.
Okay, sir. So,
Hmm.
next question. As you already said, do you think the Indian cinematic industry has failed to distinguish the line?
Not at all. When you're talking about us as an industry, I hope you're not only talking about the Hindi film industry. I hope you're also aware of Marathi cinema. You're also aware of Gujarati cinema, of Bangla cinema, of cinema in Kannada and Malayalam. So if you look at us as a industry which is as vibrant as it is, we're definitely not constantly deceiving our viewers. But that being said, uh, some of our commercial ventures as filmmakers could be much more honest. Um, but that is a blanket statement to make. That doesn't apply uh, to the lakhs of people across this film industry, which are not trying to deceive a viewer at all. In fact, they are trying to create an experience which would move them. But unfortunately, or fortunately, cinema is a business. Um, Cinema depends on technology. Cinema depends on reforms. Cinema depends on the commercial capabilities of its audience, on the financial state of its country. Cinema depends on a lot of things. And when you find some of these other scenarios improving, you'll find that the state of cinema is improving as well. And I think our cinema, as of right now, whether it be deceptive, whether it be transparent, it represents who we are as a country.
So, my last question would be, so
Mhm.
has Bollywood lived up to its moral responsibility? Because it has glorified eve teasing, stalking as a normal way to, as they say, get the girl. But it's morally wrong and not an appropriate thing in the real world. What would you say to that?
That's a lovely question. No, um, our films are as much responsible for the current state of patriarchy in this country as we are, as our media is, as our other forms of arts are. But cinema, the fact that it can reach out to people who are so young and so vulnerable, it has definitely not been able to portray injustice, not been able to portray inequality, be it classism, be it bias between genders, be it between religions. It could definitely have done a better job. But cinema is made by the people who watch it. Cinema is made by Indians. And so you will find the mindset of Indians in the cinema, and it's a vicious circle. You'll find that improving, and I definitely agree with whoever said that. Um, not only are Hindi films responsible for that, there are films from around the country which are responsible for archaic mindset. And I hope we as storytellers find smarter ways, more uh, compassionate ways, more clearer ways of telling our stories, to cut it short. But yes, um, Bollywood needs to get its game up, and it will. because people are changing.
Yes, sir. My last question to you would be, sir,
Mhm.
a lot of ideas and movies recently coming up run against the social conscience. They are essential concepts and they are important, but they run against the social conscience and are unacceptable. What would you say about that?
Please repeat your question, Eklavya.
So a lot of the new movies have been
Hmm.
coming on social content that were earlier considered as a dogma, concepts you couldn't touch.
Hmm.
What would you say about that?
That there are movies on. I mean, filmmakers are choosing a wider areas of themes. Cinema evolves. Children these days who are making film, uh, they've grown up on content which is global. They've grown up on content which is not only Indian. They've started absorbing some of that. Children these days are very aware of this inequality around them, so they include the inequality in the cinema, and so the cinema is evolving, and we are finding our voice uh, as filmmakers. So that's what's going on. People are more accepting. Hopefully, we'll head there one day.
Okay. Thank you, sir. That was my last question. I would like to thank you on behalf of the IIM Rohtak TEDx team for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I am Rohtak. This is my pleasure, and hope you didn't fall asleep during the talk. Um, and I hope you guys have a good day. And thank you for the invitation.
Thank you, sir.